The focus of this assignment is to look at the first slave revolutions with a focus on the role of Haiti. As always, we have the terms that you have to have an understanding by the end of this particular section. The themes addressed for this day are here, and you want to complete the primary source sheet. Remember, all of the terms that are highlighted are terms that are in the AP framework, so you want to treat these as definitions. And so pretty much what we're looking at here are some of the first Black communities, how they emerged, what are the long-term, significance of, free Black communities. And eventually we transition to the Haiti slave revolution, which is going to be the first revolution that is going to lead to the ending of slavery, which is a revolt conducted by enslaved people. So we see some more terms here, as well as the role of the Louisiana territory, which is going to add more territory to the United States. So the end result here is going to be that the slave revolts are going to lead to increased anxieties, and what is happening in Haiti might lead to inspiration for other slaves to come forward and demand such change as well. Notice the violent nature of this particular painting here, where we see the revolt taking place, the main focus on this guy right here. We're going to be looking at some of these primary source documents. This is the Constitution of Haiti, which, as I said before, this is going to be the first state that is going to address the issue of slavery, as this was a revolt initiated by slaves to begin with. So you want to identify key terms and interpret the text of. Here we're looking at the Constitution of Haiti from 1805. And again, the significance of this revolution is that Haiti was the first independent Black state in the New World. We're just going to skim around through some sections of the Constitution. Slavery is forever abolished. The citizens of Haiti are brothers with equality in the eyes of the law. Notice how once again they use the term citizen. Years later, we would see Dred Scott sue in the American courts and then be told that he is not a citizen of the United States. Another significant part is this section where it says it is declared all citizens of Haiti to be Black. So that is again, racial descriptor. We then transition to this speech by Frederick Douglass, who in 1893 is writing and speaking on behalf of the issue of Haiti at the Chicago World's Fair. So as we look at this particular section, what he's basically arguing is that we need to maintain some sort of positive relationship between Haiti and the United States. It brings up some of the reasoning as to why in this particular section here. So again, as we analyze this particular source, this section right here, Haiti is Black, and we have not yet forgiven Haiti for being Black. So it seems like that seems to be the issue that he is advocating for, where if we're talking about a Black nation that stems from slavery with regard to this revolution, you might have people in the United States who are unwilling to be supportive of a United States relationship with Haiti as a result of that particular revolution. So as we get to the end of this particular source, we see that Frederick Douglass is continuing to talk positively about Haiti. Here we have some images. These images are crucial for the AP framework as they are required sources. And these sources are really looking at the Haitian Revolution and just providing some sort of visual for this particular revolt. Here we see planning. And we transition to the Louisiana Purchase. And as we addressed before, as the United States gains more territory, the question comes up about how these states are going to be admitted into the Union. Are they going to be free states or slave states? And we see a huge chunk of land that is going to further complicate that particular issue. As this slideshow is primarily about revolution, we see some additional forms. These are more mild, slowing work, which basically means you make an agreement to maybe work slow to break tools. Not extreme, but the extreme version of revolution might be on its way. Notice here how they're talking about religious services becoming instruments for resistance to slavery. And then we get to the slave revolt in Louisiana. And keep in mind, it's close to the revolution in Haiti. We have, once again, some terms that are highlighted. You want to treat those like definitions. And this point here, where it's suggesting that Haiti's independence and abolishing of slavery is pretty much looking at the unfulfilled promises of the American Revolution. Because remember, the American Revolution, when we look at all of the documents, talked about all men are created equal, yet that was only going to apply to a certain amount of people within that particular society. This term, the Maroons, are going to come up in later slideshows as you'll start to see Maroon communities emerge throughout the United States. And the argument here is that what happens in Haiti influences revolution in the United States. For this particular revolt, the Louisiana slave revolt, which is going to have some consequences where you'll see additional legislation passed to prevent violent slave revolts. And this is from a memorial. Keep in mind that the beheading of potential slaves, slave breaking, all of these tactics were used to deter slaves from revolting. It says right here, it's about increased anxiety with regard to slave revolts. So if you are a slave owner, you're probably concerned about the impact of these slave revolts in Haiti, throughout parts of the United States, and how that is going to impact your personal situation. Going back to this particular image, and we move to this scenario here, which is about the ship Creole. And for this particular ship, we see a revolt that's taking place on a slave ship as it's sailing to the Bahamas. And the question here is going to be, will these individuals be able to gain their freedom? So we have Madison Washington here, who is leading this particular slave revolt. And we're starting to see black leaders emerge and advocate for different strategies. Keep in mind, when we're looking at the political spectrum, people on the left are traditionally trying to advocate for change. People on the right are trying to preserve. However, when you're looking at the political spectrum within movements, in this case, the fight for abolition, or the fight for the ending of civil rights, when you're on the right within that movement, you're about preservation of your group. So when we start to see the emergence of some of these leaders, for example, Nat Turner, who's going to lead a revolt in the United States, 60 people are going to be slain in this particular protest. Denmark Vesey, whose plot was eventually foiled. All of these extreme tactics, this one right here would probably be one that's within the right, because these people are trying to talk about preservation of black culture, a black way of life, which is eventually going to evolve into a concept of black nationalism. Now, if you're just speaking at a conference, not to diminish, speaking, but definitely something very different from trying to plan and execute a slave revolt. As a result of that, Jefferson is going to send a letter to Rufus King, who is in Congress, and is pretty much just trying to address this particular issue with regard to the fear and panic. Some of the items that I highlighted here. Here it talks about the minds of the slaves in different parts of the United States. This is a result of what is going on in other parts of Central and South America. And the question here is whether or not those revolutions will influence what's happening among the slave population and the abolitionist movement in the United States. Will the United States, certain areas, follow that particular example of revolution? That seems to be the question here. And he's presenting a couple of options here. Throughout this source, you'll see numbers 2 and 5 and so on. And pretty much what he's looking for in this section is he's trying to figure out, what do we do with those slaves who are guilty of insurgency? and he's making a suggestion here that maybe you transport these people, and they have particularly looked to Africa as offering the most desirable. So it's a question about whether or not you're going to start sending some of these individuals to Africa, but then he brings up Sierra Leone. Remember, we had already talked about Sierra Leone as an area that was already inhabited by slaves as a result of the British trying to prop up this particular colony. And as we look in this document, he's basically looking for some sort of answer to these particular issues. You know, who will pay for their passage? What are you going to do with some of the radical slaves who are in your country? Are you going to allow them to remain? Are you going to, punish these individuals? If you do not initiate some form of punishment, that could potentially be disastrous because that's going to lead to more slave revolts. And I guess that depends on which side you're on for the 1800s. And that's pretty much what he's looking for here. He's looking for some sort of solution to, I guess, the calming of the nerves, trying to figure out what to do with some of these slaves who are, in his view, violent, trying to lead some sort of protest as they try to fight for their natural rights, as any human being in this condition, this situation probably would. So your task is going to be to create some form of artistic expression using the ideas and the themes below and the information for today's class. So think about some of the paintings that we looked at, and you're being asked to try to recreate something. It could also be some sort of poem or something along those lines, as long as it incorporates some of the themes, the elements, some of the terminology from today's class. And as we come to the end, keep in mind you want to have an understanding of these particular terms, be able to define them. These are the themes used for this day, and hopefully you have been using the primary source sheet. And if you are unfamiliar with the terms, feel free to check your notes with this particular slide, as well as this one.